Hi guys, I hope everyone's doing well. Today we're going to be focusing in on day 4, period and frequency. So far we've focused in on graphing sine and cosine and our vertical shifts plus D or minus D up or down. And we have talked a lot about what A represents. A is outside or in front of sine and in front of cosine. And you guys hopefully know by now that A represents the amplitude, okay? What we're really going to start focusing in on now today is what B represents. B represents the frequency. How many cycles you will see from 0 to 360. And D is our vertical shift up or down or the midline. Okay, the frequency B is the number of complete cycles from 0 to 360. The period is 360 over B, over the frequency. It's the horizontal length of one cycle. How much space do you need to see one full cycle? Okay. Another way to think about it is the distance between two consecutive max points. And we'll focus in on that as we go ahead and graph down below. Okay, so for A through D, they want you to go ahead and talk about the amplitude, the frequency, and the period. Okay? So in this case right here, amplitude is sitting right out in front. So our amplitude is 3. The frequency, that is 2. What that means is when you guys are going ahead and graphing that from 0 to 360, and this is just a rough sketch. This is cosine. You would start at the amplitude, and at the amplitude you would see 1 and 2. We so far have only graphed one cycle from 0 to 360. Now we're going to focus in on graphing 2 of them. And the period is 360 divided by 2, which is equal to 180. And what that means is you are going to see one cycle from 0 to 180. So from 0 to 180 you'd see this, and then from 180 to 360 you would see the other cycle. Okay, we have here the amplitude, the frequency, and the period. The amplitude here, a lot of kids, they make a mistake on this. They want to say it's -2. The amplitude is how tall it is, that's 2, the height. Okay, your frequency is 1/2. So now you're talking the sine curve. So if you go ahead, start at 0, end at 0. The sine curve, if you're only going to graph the half of it, you would only focus in on half of it, which is from this here to this there. That's half of that sine curve. And the period would be 360 divided by 1/2, which would give you 720. So that means in order to see one full cycle, you would have to go to 720 degrees. Okay, we have C, we have the amplitude, the frequency, and the period. The amplitude is 1/2, the frequency 4, the period is 360 divided by 4, and that would be 90. So again, a rough sketch of this, that means you would see 4 cycles from 0 to 360. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and that's just a rough sketch of that. I'm just trying to point out that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So our first cycle would start at 0, end at 90. The second would start at 90, end at 180, 180 to 270, 270 to 360. Amplitude, the frequency, and the period. The amplitude is 5. Okay, this negative, remember the negatives show a reflection. Okay, that kind of tells you the direction. So instead of starting at +5, you would start at -5 because you're reflecting it or flipping it over the x-axis. Your frequency is 1/4. Okay, and then you guys are going to do 360 divided by 0.25, which is 1/4, and you would get 1,440. That means that you guys are going to go ahead and see, if you want to see one full curve, you would have to go from 0 to 1,440 degrees. Okay, let's go ahead and graph some of these now. We're going to focus in on this first one. Y is equal to sine of 2x. We know our amplitude here is 3. The frequency, 2. That means we need two sine curves from 0 to 360 degrees. The period is 360 divided by 2, which is 180. That means from 0 to 180, you would see one cycle. And from 180 to 360, you would see that second cycle. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to count by 4s this time. You guys can count by 3s or 4s. It really doesn't matter. It's just nice when you're trying to get halfway between. You'll see what I mean in a moment because we need the 2 cycles. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 90, 180, 270, 360. And we know that we're going to have a height of 3. So we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is the thing. You guys have to, from 0 to 180, you have to have one full cycle. So that means you're going to be, because it's sine, you always start at 0, you're going to end at 0. So I'm going to start at 0 and end at 0 from 0 to 180. Midway, you're going to be at 0. Okay? So just keep that in mind that midway, you're going to be back at 0. Okay, so now how are you going to go ahead and plot these other points? What you want to do is you want to go, we know we have to have a height of 3. Okay, so you guys are going to go midway between, go up, and you're actually at 45 degrees. At 45 degrees, 3 sine 2x would equal 3. Okay, and you're going to go halfway here at 135, at 135 degrees. And a lot of students ask me, Mrs. Specht, well, how do I know how to get these points here that you're plotting? Because remember, we were focusing in on the 5 key points. Because we have to go from 0 to 180, you still need your 5 key points. But so now you guys are going to have to include halfway between 90 and 0 and halfway between 180 and 90, okay, which is 135 and 45. I'm going to also show you the calculator in a moment, which will help you tremendously if you're having a hard time graphing this. All right, so now we're going to go halfway again. We're going to go up to 3, back down to 0, halfway to -3, back to 0. And that's your other cycle. Oh, did I go down to -3? Whoops. And then we can label y is equal to 3 sine 2x, okay? You guys can see the domain, that's our x values. We're going from 0 to 360. Make sure that you have a bracket because those are included. The range are my y values, how low to how high. You guys are going from -3 to +3. And the equation of the midline is the midpoint between your max and your min, and you're going to see that it's right there at y is equal to 0. Okay, I do want to take the time right now to go ahead and show you before we start the next one, because the next one I'm going to just go ahead and use the graphing calculator if you choose to. These right here are going to be very helpful notes, okay? You have to make sure that you go ahead before you start using your calculator to graph any sine or cosine, that you check your mode. Everyone go ahead and hit mode and make sure that you're in degree. The next thing we have to do is we have to go ahead and change our window. You guys can clearly see that on the X, we're going from 0 to 360. So you have to change your X min to 0. and your x max to 360. Your x scale, that's your scale that you want to go up by. I just would keep it at 45. There's going to be times that you're not going to go ahead and graph all of those points. And then you guys can see that your y min and your y max, we're going from, you can keep it -10 to 10 because that's what it's set at, but you can also change it from -3 to 3 if you want to, and you want that to go up by 1. So everyone should have changed the window. You hit window and change all of those. Now, you also have to go ahead and change your table setup, okay? So how do you do that? You're going to hit second window. And what you need to do is you need to change these two things. Your table start, you want it to start at 0, and you want your table to go up by 45, okay? So now, if you guys go ahead and you've done all those changes, you can hit y equals, and you guys can go ahead and hit 3 sine 2x, and you can go second table, and there are all of your values that you have to go ahead and plot. 0, 0, 45, 3, 90, 0, 135, -3, all the way up to 360, because you're going from 0 to 360. So these will always give you all of your points that you need to go ahead and plot those, okay? We're gonna use the calculator for the next one if you want to. Some of you guys can do it without the calculator, and that's fine, but I am gonna do this next one with the calculator. Okay, so this one right here, we have an amplitude of 2. The frequency is 1/2. So if you're visualizing this, you guys can go ahead and you have the cosine start at the amplitude, end at the amplitude, but I'm only going to go ahead and focus in on half of this. So it's going to look something like this right here that I highlighted. Your period is 360 divided by 0.5, or a half, which gives us 720. In order to see a full cycle, you would have to go to 720 degrees. We are not going to 720 degrees. That means we're only going to see half of the cycle. So I'm going to count by 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to go ahead. 90, 180, 270, 360. And we know that we're going to go up to 2 and -2. Okay. So you guys can go ahead and hit y equals. I'm going to clear this right here. You're going to hit 2 cosine 0.5, which is 1/2 x. And you guys are going to go to your table. And remember, we're going with our x values from 0 to 360. So at 0, you should see your y value being 2. However, when you go to 45, you see the y value at 1.8478. We're not going to plot all those ugly numbers. We're just going to plot the nice numbers. The next nice number is at 180. 180, we're going to plot at 0. And then we're going to do 360. That's going to be at -2. So we're only going to be focusing in on these 3 points when you guys go ahead and plot this. So you're going to go ahead. You're going to start at 2. At 180, you're going to be at 0. And at 360, -2. Whoops. And you guys can label y is equal to 2 cosine 1/2 x. So our domain, again, is going from 0 to 360. The range, -2 to +2. And our midline, y is equal to 0. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to focus in on one more. We're not going to graph the last one. The reason why I want to focus in on this one is because we are going from -360 to +360 for this one. So you guys can go ahead and we can have our amplitude, our frequency, and our period. Our amplitude is going to be 4, the frequency 2. That means we're going to see 2 cycles from 0 to 360. So there's going to be 2 here from 0 to 360, and from negative 360 to 0, you'll see another 2. And we have our period, which is 360 divided by 2, which is 180. So you'll see 1 full cycle from 0 to 180. From 180 to 360, you'll see your last one. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to get our table values. You guys can go ahead and hit y equals. You can hit 4 cosine 2x. You guys can go to your table, and we're going to start at 0. You're going to see that there's a lot of values here. 0, 45, 90. You're going to have to go ahead and plot all those. So we have our x, 0, 45, 90, 135, 180. That's going to be from 0 to 180, 1 full cycle. And we're dealing with cosine, so you start at the amplitude, end at the amplitude. You're going to go to 0, negative 4, 0, back to 4, okay? And you're going to do that same from 180, those same points, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, count by 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 90, 180, 270, 360, negative 90, negative 180, negative 270, negative 360. Okay, and we have to go up to 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we can go ahead and plot this. We have 0, 4. We're going to start at the amplitude. We're going to be ending at the amplitude at 180. Okay, we have to graph 45 degrees. 45 is halfway between 0 and 90, so you guys can go ahead. We have 0 right there. 90, you're going to be at negative 4. At 135, which is halfway between 90 and 180, you're going to be back at 0. And that's 1 full cycle from 0 to 180, and then you guys have to repeat that again, okay? You're going to go halfway, back down to 0, back down to negative 4, 0, and 4. And you guys will see 2 cycles from 0 to 360. And then of course you guys are going to be doing the exact same thing over here, back down to 0, negative 4, 0, positive 4, 0, negative 4, 0, positive 4. 1, 2 cycles. From 360 to 0. All right, so we have y is equal to 4 cosine 2x, okay? Remember, our amplitude is 4 and our frequency is 2, so you should have 2 cycles from 0 to 360. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. If you have any questions with this, please make sure that you send me a quick email. I just wanted to go ahead and this is what we received today from one of Lillian's classmates. I just want to encourage kindness, and if you guys want to go ahead and make something for maybe a relative or someone that's in need of it, and bring a little sunshine to someone else's life, that would be awesome. Okay, you guys, have a great day.